Okay. It's an interesting metaphor. Not really, but we'll do it anyway. The narcissistic control freak, misogynistic man, demon that's like an animal, artificial intelligence, whatever. There's a lot of different labels for it, but the idea is basically the same. The one who invades your space and sits there and acts like that you have a throne at all, and then pretends like he has the right to, speak through your mouth, speak for you, and turns around and claims like and then says he's a king for doing so, and that he's God, and that he's harnessed all your powers, which you probably don't have because, one of the first things they do before that happens is they loot you. And then acts like he knows better, and he's got morality and he's got ethics and he's got a moral compass and stuff like that. But he offers absolutely no morality whatsoever. He offers absolutely no compass whatsoever. He never says who he is. He never says where he's from. He never shows that he has any skills at all, except for lying and stealing. And he doesn't leave when he's told. He was never invited in the first place. And if you don't give him what he wants, he abuses you. So the only thing that you're getting from that one is he's in the wrong place. He wasn't invited. He lies. He abuses. He thieves. Or he abuses specifically when he doesn't get what he wants. He thieves. He's literally possessive and controlling character of others. He defines that as authority, and in some cases, and then expects to be treated like a divinity in return. Okay, it shows no capacity and no talent for anything else, and has never ever offered a single thing that would qualify as a genuine expression of divine power and wisdom. You know what that is? You know what that is? That's domestic violence. And you know how the Church of Scientology did that to people? You gotta love this one. The Church of Scientology did a very strange thing to people. Okay. First of all, they claim to keep their ideas secret. Okay? Claim's the correct term. You had to go buy their $1 million books before you could figure out what was in the contents of it. So the assumption would then be is that if you never read their books, then you would never be exposed to their ideas. Okay? So all people had to do was to look at the bloody bastards and laugh at them and walk away and presume they wouldn't be affected. South Park contributed to that through their episode about Scientology, and except that they added a little bit about the Xenu myth. I said, okay, so the objective there is, of course, people laugh again, or an evil alien sent a bunch of dead alien souls to Earth on B-52s, and they crashed into volcanoes in Hawaii or some crap. Come on. Like, obviously you're going to laugh at that, right? Okay, and obviously Tom Cruise looks like a fucking Wally. Okay, so you're not going to agree with that, right? So, okay, again, you're immune, all right? Right. Until you realise what they're actually part of. Until you discover the greatest story behind Scientology and why it's witchcraft of the bad kind, not the good kind, and what it's truly associated with. Okay? Let's have a look at some of the symbolism that got released on Wikipedia recently. The 9 to 10 OT levels, or operating thetan levels. So in their language, people have reactive minds that they need to process and get rid of, and then once they get rid of that one, then other ones showed up, and what shows up is the dead alien souls, and then they have to process them. And then once they've processed them all, like a series of levels, they get to the OT9, where they encounter what the Scientologists call the religion implant. And in the religion implant, they discover that they're sitting in front of on a TV screen, being fed stories about religions by an evil alien called Xenu. And their job is to reject the religions and Xeno's programming. Okay? Now, at that point you go, okay. And you might also go, L. Ron Hubbard, why did you call Jesus Christ a pedophile? Because he did in the 1950s. You might go, okay. How come L. Ron Hubbard was a failed science fiction author and but successful at using his science fiction stories as xenomyths? Okay then. How come they have silent birthing in Scientology? Okay then. They're whack jobs. You're right, they're whack jobs, okay? Right? It's very easy to dismiss Scientology as whack jobbery until, especially if you ever walked into a Church of Scientology office where they sell the books, right? And one of their brain-dead concierges who look like they're in a cult and is emaciated takes you into a little dark room with a big screen where they feed you information about the Scientology religion. And all you get is Kirstie Alley and John Revolting saying, the Church of Scientology has never cheated the IRS of taxes. It's a legitimate religion. They should be, tax exempt status is okay for all religions. They're not actually cheating the IRS of their taxes. Ad nauseum. It's like, with Kirstie Alley going, Scientology helped them. They used to be an alcoholic and it helped them. Their friend John Revolta got helped by it too. Yeah, it's a good thing. But they never say what Scientology actually is. Okay? What's really interesting is just how strongly that scene resembles the religion implant that they claim is the highest level of Scientology. Okay, which you supposedly have to deal with after you battle all the dead alien souls and whatever else, okay? Okay? So it's almost as though the beginning is the ending, because they're trying to, like, you know, they're the ones who believe in Xeno, who are trying to feed you their religion's implant, and which is that they're not cheating tax. It's like, okay, are they a parody cult? Is that a parody? Are they making fun of religion? Is the entire religion's purpose to make fun of religion? Well, why does the concierge look like they're an emaciated member of Jonestown? Don't know. Maybe he's a junkie. Don't know. And he's getting part-time income from the church, the Church of Scientology to, you know, pay for his drugs. Like, don't know. Whatever. The point is that introductory video does not recruit any members. They all laugh and they leave. Okay? The Church of Scientology has not recruited many members ever. They're mostly recruited from celebrities, and specifically celebrities with money to burn who are a little bit gullible, and are looking to feel special for some reason. But here's the real... Once you figure out what they're really doing, what's behind what they do, why celebrities, why they deliberately make it unsellable to the general populace, yet successfully recruit celebrities, it'll blow your fucking mind. What's the real reason behind it? Well, this is going to get a bit involved. Okay, so what's behind it? Okay, so the Church of Scientology, by recruiting celebrities, recruits the stars. Later on, we'll describe why that's important. Okay, the celebrities, of course, are part of the mass media. So these are people who have spent a lot of time on television or in the movies or radio. So therefore, their voice or their face is accessible to many different people. Anyone that's familiar with the photovoltaic effect would probably be able to understand that if you talk, it moves ions around of air particles, which causes electrons to jump, or ionization of ionized particles means an electron's probably jumped orbit or been shared with a different atom, okay? That's what they reckon. And that, as a consequence, produces the photovoltaic effect, which, in other words, releases a photon at a 45-degree angle from that electron. Okay? So, in other words, speaking is a means by which light can be transmitted. And so, that's one of that's where the idea of light language comes into the glossolalia behaviour of the New Age movement. They are spell casting by transmitting light beams through speech. Whether or not it's believable for it to be transmitted through technology is a different argument yet again. However, it is actually the case that it is possible to transmit a light beam by talking, because of the photovoltaic effect. So anyway, put that aside for a minute. If you were of the opinion or had found a means by which that those particular light beams, okay, or through the transmission of sound, could be transmitted to other people watching the television set or listening to the radio, for example, then you would probably found a very clever means by which to do witchcraft. And you would probably have found an equivocal use for good or evil purposes. It would mean that you could use television shows for spellcasting, use television shows for the transmission of quote-unquote what they believe to be spirits to be in the New Age movement, which is that they are light. Okay, if you actually analyse what the discussion of light is and is not, and how it relates to physics and whatever, spirits are not light. Spirits are actually an unknown class or something that is independent of the physical reality and has it cannot be easily described by any of the known material substances or how they behave or their byproducts such as light. So subsequently, to describe a spirit as light is probably inaccurate. They do have colours, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're light. Entities also have colours as well. So the sort of question of how refraction works and stuff like that becomes a bit complicated at that point. But the main thing to acknowledge is that some kind of sound to light based information can be transmitted via the television set and the radio that is in addition to the actual artificial radio wave signal that is used between the devices so that the devices can transcode and decode the actual information called the actual TV show or the radio. So in that encrypted format, it's the actual artificial radio wave does not have a one-to-one relationship between the light, the artificial radio wave, and how it appears as a TV show. It is not a holographic one-to-one relationship where you can just look at the artificial radio wave and you go, that's the freaking goddamn fucking TV show right there, okay, and just decode it straight away, like you just see it automatically. You can't do that because it's encrypted for the purposes of transmitting from device to device. It's also the case that there's numerous artificial radio waves and microwave signals which are encrypted for the purposes of military operations and stuff like that, walkie-talkies and whatever. And so it's not like quote unquote holographic, okay? Holographic would imply that you have some kind of mirror illusion where there is a small object that is mirrored in such a way that it creates a sort of a different effect for how it appears. It appears in a different spot. It might appear to be doing something when it's not actually doing something. It might appear to be bigger than it really is, or perhaps even have different colours than it actually has. So a hologram has those types of characteristics, where the actual original object is not the same as how it appears to the viewer because of the use of mirrors to create that effect. That is not what an artificial radio wave is that transmits TV shows and radio shows. However, from the perspective of the religious belief systems that impacted the creation of Scientology in the first place, if you took into consideration the possibility that light language might be an example of attempting to transmit information via the photovoltaic effect, then you might take into consideration that the real reason why the Scientologists employ celebrities as their agent provocateurs for their cult is because they do actually have greater access to the population by law of numbers, or the ad popular argument that's associated with cults. In other words, the more an idea is transmitted and the more popular it is and the more people believe in it, the more likely it's going to take effect and or quote unquote manifest. So it's not the actual truth, it's what people believe and therefore how it affects their behaviour. And so the transmission of particular ideas through social media and mass media has been an important means by which, or rather effective means by which, everyone's been duped into a situation that we're in now. Okay? This situation that we're in now with Trump and Musk and all the rest, okay, the tech bros and their fascist regime that's taken over the United States of America and the backlog of Google and all the rest, okay, this has a long background to it that goes back to the 1950s at least, okay, and one of the events in the 1950s that you need to know about is, of course, the advent of Scientology and its relationship to the creation of Wicca with Gardner, who was a friend of L. Ron Hubbard, maybe, but he was definitely a friend of Aleister Crowley in the 1910s. What you probably noticed that some of the Wiccan symbolism, which they call Star Lodge symbolism, which was seen in Putin's Ashes video, with Pussy Riot. So the Pussy Riot revealed that they were actually programmed potentially by Putin when they were in prison, or that some of the producers that they were working with were actually part of a larger group that was trying to affect a situation where Putin had more authority, or at least appeared to have more authority than he did or does. Had the symbolism have Putin appear in a position of leadership within that particular system, with the 12 people, 6 side by side, each one representing a sign of zodiac, and of course activities happening in a centre that represent the abyss activity. And in that case, the woman allegedly she was burning Putin and destroying him, but actually fire sometimes means spirit. So they were putting Putin's spirit into the abyss. Which means they were putting it to Coronzon, which means they were putting it to the collective Tesseract mind system, which means that they were putting it to all 12 signs of the zodiac, which means that Putin was going to affect everyone. Okay, so that symbolism, if you talk about in the Wiccan context, or more specifically the Star Lodge Masonic context, does not actually refer to a group of women who were attempting to bring down Putin. They were trying to elevate him up. On the other hand, the alternate symbolism of setting him on fire actually represents him burning. And so, as you can see, there's a lot of fires, and like they reckon in the media, there's a lot of riots and stuff happening in Russia and the USA and so on and so forth. So a sort of dual symbolism going on there is something that's worth looking into. And so that's an example of sort of like a combination of Wicca. And the ideas, we talk about things like Coronzon, you talk about things like the creation of the circle of people who come, or lines of people in the Star Lodge formation that have zodiac references. That goes back to Aleister Crowley, and has its roots and ideas before that as well. And so basically what they're saying, Wicca is not actually the original Indo-European paganism. Wicca is actually Crowleyism from the 1950s, with an attempt to say that Coronzon is the horn god, or the triple goddess is Coronzon, or they're two faces of the Coronzon. When in actuality, Coronzon as an original idea has nothing to do with those two things at all. The horn god is merely a representative of men misidentifying with their fathers and seeking to possess and control their mothers through rape. It's basically a form of victim blaming and a form of misandry against men. It's based on Freudian psychoanalysis in the 1920s. It actually has no connection to reality whatsoever. And what people are not usually aware of is that Freud and Jung were running a cult, an actual cult. Their introspective activities were under the influences of drugs. Jung got his visions from soldiers in the hospital that he was working at, and from the Weimar Republic days. And Freud was actually a cult leader, and so was Jung, and they had a split based on a systematic disagreement. And so, as a consequence, some of the New Age movement took on board some misinterpretations of Jung's ideas, and misinterpretations is correct. They tried to conflate a Corazon type idea with shadow work. It's not. They tried to conflate it with archetypes. It's not. They tried to they've made numerous errors in terms of misinterpreting Freudian and Jungian psychoanalysis, which in itself was already fraught with cultural myopia and drug-addled nonsense. And so basically what happened there is that Gardner's created an idea that had symbols that sounded like they're from old school paganism, but in actual ritual fact was representing a variation of Thelema or Crowleyism. And so when you see that way, and you see at the same time Scientology is being developed, and that is possibly an offshoot of the technocratic movement. So we'll go back to the 1920s again, and instead of looking at the Freudian and Jungian psychoanalysis stuff, we'll go to the technocratic movement and the sci-fi movement instead. And what you'll probably find there is that they reckon that there was the sort of what they call scientism, or scientism, is distinct from science proper. So the idea of scientists being on a pulpit acting like they're running a religion, okay, which we've also seen come into effect as well, is warned about it at the academies, and it's definitely happened. And right. Is that the same as Scientology though? No, it's not. Okay. Let's pull back again. Okay. One of the things that you'll find there is that they're trying to symbolically misappropriate several different things as Scientologists. First of all, they've misappropriated the cross symbolism. Okay. They try to claim they're atheistic, but they've got a cross symbol. Why? The other thing you need to ask a question is why they want to have the status of a religion, and say it's not for tax-exempt status. That's because it's a cult. Okay, specifically it's a witchcraft cult. We'll get right. Okay. We said they have to have a creation myth as Xena. Okay. What's the symbolism of 9? Okay, OT9. Okay. These are referring to sort of nine different steps. Okay, right. What's the dead alien souls? Okay, the dead alien souls are shades of the underworld in some cases. The inverted mirrors of the other people that you'll find in the Corazon state. So they're actually mirrors of other people. They could be actual aliens in some cases. Some cases they're animals. Sometimes they're plants. Sometimes they're technological. The point is it's associated with a system called the Tree of Death. So the nine OTs that they talk about are actually 9 spheres. Okay, so we go into anthroposophy and Steiner here, back into the spheres. Okay, the spheres on the Tree of Death. Okay, the spheres of anthroposophy and stuff like that, which is associated with theosophy, because Steiner was a student of Blatsky. And okay, you see what's going on here? Okay, so what they're actually trying to say, people process is, okay, when you sort out your own reactive mind, that goes does it, so you get harvested. Then you have to sort out the dead alien souls in different levels. Okay, you're stuck on the Tree of Death. Okay, what they're actually saying is that they're getting you to do exactly the same system that Crowley came up with, but using different names for it. So those dead alien souls are whatever entities, peoples or otherwise, that you will find in the Tree of Death system. Okay, and so when you supposedly get to that layer where you remove the religion implant and you go back to the original introduction video, Scientology, what you realise is here we are at the fulfillment of the technocratic and the scientism arguments, or the full manifestation of the purpose of Scientology, which was to ensure that the technocrats from the 1920s get their fulfillment through the X Party of Birmingham in Canada and Elon Musk type characters through their fulfillment of techno-fascism or the techno-fascist dystopia, through the creation of that. And guess what? They try to claim it's for the defeat of Xeno, but what they really wanted to do is to make sure that you were in front of that TV screen being programmed with their religions and believing that you're in a simulation when you never were in the first place until they did that. So here we are today, and the subgrids that got transmitted through the televisions and stuff like that. Okay, it is possible to actually transmit sound being transcoded into light back again. So when you listen, you receive information. Air particles in your ears oscillate. Some of those air particles will be ionized ones, which will produce a photovoltaic effect. There is absolutely no guarantee that you are going to receive at that level the same information that's being transmitted from here. Nonetheless, there is a relationship between what is you an imaginal construct, which is in this space phenomenologically a physical body talking to you, and you phenomenologically receiving photovoltaic effect from those light particles. And considering the photovoltaic effect was published by Albert Einstein in about 1904 or 1905, you can rest assured the technocrats were looking into that, and the spellcasters and witchcrafters of Thelema and whatever else. And the befuddling of you using that particular method was deliberate. Okay, and anyone who was a celebrity who was a member of Scientology was in fact doing spell casting on you. So, suck shit to everyone. Suck shit, we all fucked up. Every group fucked up. Makes you wonder what South Park, the cartoon's really all about, hey? Were they really supporting Scientology by doing that? If you laugh at them, they've got your attention.